When new Purdue President Mung Chiang took office, he got a lot of perks from it, including but not limited to Westwood residence and even a butler. But he also inherited a lot of problems that he has to deal with his administration, not limited to a current housing crisis going on. We had the chance to talk to President Chiang about all of these issues and more on our first collaboration between Fast Track News and the Purdue Exponent. We've got students have all kinds of questions about your life nowadays. How is your family adjusting to life at Purdue and life at Westwood?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of questions about my own life all the time too. As to my family, I think they are adjusting very well. My wife, she's been a fantastic first lady working with the community, and our 3 children, they go to West Side schools, and well, I wish I could see them a lot more, but from everything I've seen so far, they are adjusting very well.
Yep. And you don't see them very often. You travel a lot. How do you stay comfortable traveling all the time as president?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's just a lot of meetings, even when I'm not traveling. All right, and I do travel a little bit. I went to Tokyo. I'm heading to Houston on Monday for alumni events. We should have been Houston earlier this month for a different reason, but well, I'm still going to Houston. We had an alumni event in the Bay Area. I go to Washington, D.C. maybe about once a month. We've been to a few other places in the state of Indiana and in other parts of the country. Well, you know, it's actually an enjoyable part of the job to get to see Boilermakers all over the places, and not just in Indiana, but you see what they've been doing with their education out of Purdue and all the innovation they are pushing in their own local state and communities. It's a great point of pride.
And you're talking about innovation. Well,
yes.
I was reading a little bit about the Purdue Applied Research Initiative. Could you talk about that?
Sure.
Or the Purdue Applied Research
Institute.
Purdue
Applied Research Institute. So this is a institute focusing on national security, economic security, and food security. And we just recruited an outstanding inaugural CEO, Dr. Mark Lewis. So he is the best, the pinnacle of excellence combination across academia, industry, and government leadership. I'm very happy to be able to recruit him. And under Mark Lewis' leadership, along with our EVP for research, Dr. Karen Plout, I know that we're going to be making a lot of progress through Perry for the National Defense Research, as well as for AgTech Accelerator and Global Development.
Sounds like you've had a busy first semester then, right?
Well, there are a few things happening, but you know, all the students have had a busy semester as always. Speaking of innovation, just yesterday, Purdue and PRF launched the Purdue Innovates initiative. Half of that is for intellectual property like patent generation and licensing to make a difference through commercialization to society. And the other half of the Purdue Innovates is startup support. We have a lot of entrepreneurial students, faculty, and alumni as well. So now have a unified network of different units on campus, streamlined, strengthened support from the incubator to the foundry to the venture investment funds. And if you're interested, just write to startups@purdue.edu. One email, one front door entrance for any entrepreneurially minded alumni, faculty, and students. We have a lot of them already, and we're going to support them even more so than before. And watch out for the ranking coming up next week, the annual compilation of the U.S. patents received by any university in the world. We did quite well last year. Purdue was number 6 in the world, and let's see how we do this year.
Gotcha. You're talking about patents. From what I understand, when you were the dean of the engineering school, you had some major increases in the program itself, such as, I believe it was 400 patents. 40% more annual patent applications. Do you plan on making major increases to every area of the university, just like you did as dean of the engineering school?
Yeah. Well, you know, we had great faculty inventors who wanted to file patents and some of them then got received, and then some of those received patents by the U.S. Patent Office got licensed to companies large and small. Some are own startup companies, some are large existing ones. And that is one more pathway of making a difference and impact to society through our research and innovation. Not the only way, but one of the pathways. And as part of the Daniels Decade Momentum, our university-wide patent numbers has been going up every year after year. And we hope to continue that momentum and trend.
Gotcha. So there was recently a story that came out that Purdue was getting rid of its graduate creative writing program. So in some ways, the liberal arts college itself is shrinking. In some ways, it's growing. Are there any plans to increase anything in liberal arts college?
Well, first of all, liberal arts education is a cornerstone, and there's actually a cornerstone program, literally, the cornerstone of any comprehensive university. And we deeply appreciate excellence in the College of Liberal Arts in many ways. The particular example, the graduate program you mentioned, I do believe happened last year and is a reflection of some of the budgetary and financial conditions. Now, without going into any specific particular program per se, I do think that you can see a lot of growth in general in the College of Liberal Arts. Just count the number of faculty recruiting happening right now. And look at, for example, innovative new degrees, such as out of philosophy department, there's the new degree in AI, artificial intelligence, asking fundamental questions about what is the limit of AI? Can generative models of AI be able to cry and laugh and love and dream as we do as human beings? So what defines human beings in a way that is distinct from the most intelligent machines one day in the future? These are truly fundamental questions about who we are as human, and what is the limit and limitation of any machines. These are philosophical questions more than computational ones, and I'm proud to see that Purdue is leading the way in that.
Gotcha. So when you became president, you kind of inherited a housing crisis. What are Purdue's plans to address this, and maybe capping the amount of students that are at the university? Is that an option?
Well, John, I'm glad you asked the question about acceptance and rejections of admission seasons, because we are towards the tail end of the undergrad admission cycle. And this year we had yet another year of record number of applicants. You can make a guess, 72,000 applied. We were at 40,000 applications about 10 years ago. Now, I've heard a few friends urging me to say, you've got to accept fewer students. But I also tell you, around the weekends where we release the results of acceptance and rejection, I got many angry, disappointed emails asking me, how dare you reject my children or my grandchildren? Look at the resume, look at how strong he is, how strong she is. And sometimes I click open and I look at, yeah, that's very strong applicants. However, I guess you cannot do both. You cannot be at the same time rejecting more and not rejecting more. Our number of enrolled students has gone up. Our enrollment size has been growing, I would say about 30% last 10 years or so. But look at the number of applicants. We're actually turning down many more applicants, percentage-wise and absolute number-wise, than ever before. Not because we're proud as a public land grant to be turning away applicants. It's simply because we do recognize that this one single campus cannot physically accommodate arbitrary number of students. Now, as to the housing availability, it is absolutely important. I wouldn't say it was a crisis. I wouldn't say it is one, especially after last Friday when the Board of Trustees endorsed 2 student housing projects. One will be starting right away. It will be available within 2 years, which is fast in construction speed, and that will have about 1,000 beds. And the other one, upon further quantified studies, will be put forward to the Board of Trustees in due time, and that will be, when approved, adding yet another 800 beds. In fact, if you tally all the number of beds the university has added over the past 10 years, plus next 3 years, these two projects, we will have caught up actually with the undergrad student enrollment growth. It will be a collection of 35% increase over the past future 3 plus past 10 years, whereas the enrollment number actually has gone up by less than 35% undergrad-wise.
Gotcha. So Purdue is also planning on building alumni-centered housing.
You're talking about part of the Discovery Park District?
Yes.
The elderly senior housing, or
which
is it different?
might I add is this new project that is alumni-centered.
Okay.
It's to be built on land that was once affordable housing for graduate students, the Purdue Village, that was torn down. Some have described this as a slap in the face. How do you address that?
Look, we deeply appreciate the graduate students, those who are earning their master's degree or earning their doctoral degrees, to be the engine of both research and teaching mission at the university. And that is why we elevated, as a result of the Action Council on Student Housing and Well-being. Now clearly there's the student housing part I just mentioned. There's the CAPS well-being and mental health support that we announced first week of the year. But also there's the graduate students, especially doctoral students. Minimum stipend went up again this year. And the higher end of the student recruits, we have now 150 additional per year doctoral presidential excellence awards to be given out to recruit those students on top of whatever TA or RA rates they'll be given. So we believe that there are multiple ways to reward our PhD students. Perhaps one of the most straightforward way is to help increase their stipend level. Now, the stipends we're talking about, the minimum is that minimum. We hope not everybody is getting the minimum, because then that'll be the maximum. We're merely saying that nobody can go below that, and the entire distribution is moving. The mean and the median is moving. And next year, next 2 years, because of the policy we announced earlier this month, in early April, will also continue to move to the right. And if you look at where we are relative to Big Ten public universities, I think that while we're not the top, we're not also living in the most expensive location either. I think we're moving the needle, and we're moving it in the right direction.
So in the right direction, what do you say to the people that say they need more now? The people that are struggling to find food or keep food on the table, eating spoiled food. They're protesting, as you see it, as you saw on the Board of Trustees. What do you have to say to those people?
Well, first of all, we respect their right to protest. We listen. We received their protest. And second, want to highlight that there are some proposals that says perhaps we should send a larger paycheck, but then also send the bill for the tuition. I said, well, that's not a good idea, because then you're just adding IRS liabilities to the students. But is it a fact that also there are students earning a degree? I think that is, yes, the case. You know, coming up in several weeks' time, we will have graduation ceremonies. The master's students will receive their master's degrees. The PhD students will be hooted and receive their doctoral degrees, unlike undergraduate students like you. And you've been paying tuition. It's a frozen tuition, but it's not a free tuition. And you write a check, or your parents write a check every semester. The PhD students will rather not be giving them a paycheck, additional paycheck, and then send them a bill to say, here are the tuition fees, right, for the courses you're taking towards earning the degree. We'll rather just say that, look, the degree basically is a quote-unquote free, in the sense that you don't have to pay for tuition, unlike a bachelor students. For a master or doctoral students, that won't be the case. And on top of that, there will be a stipend. Look, we understand that everybody need to be able to provide for themselves, in some cases for their families. And we are, every year, this is not the first time. A year ago we did it as a university, and some colleges, say engineering, did quite a lot. And this year we're doing it again, and we're encouraging all the colleges and departments to do more as well. It's not just the university central budget. Graduate education, as you may know, from admissions to mentoring often resides within departmental structures. And every departmental admissions has to compete in that same discipline against other peer institutions. So it is hard to do a one-size-fits-all kind of a stipend level, because there's another proposal that says just fix same stipend, everybody, across all disciplines. Doesn't matter what is the doctoral study area. Some universities, actually, they do that. I would say, given the diversity of the intellectual pursuits at Purdue, different departments, they compete for talents against completely different sets of other peer departments. So we give them the flexibility to do that. We give the professors the flexibilities to decide what kind of RA stipend they should provide. Our job is to make sure nobody can go below a minimum, but then again, we encourage them. In fact, we subsidize and top off through these newly introduced $150 per year Presidential Doctoral Excellence Awards, so that we don't look at everybody sitting at the minimum. And it's our hope is that minimum is not going to be touched by that many students. Most of the students per discipline, per department, will be moving the needle to the right at a pace that can be reflective of what that discipline is reflecting in the market of competition for talents.
I see. As president, what has been the biggest surprise of the semester for you?
Surprise? Well, since I've been here and I had 6 months of transition, I wouldn't say surprise. But there have been many outstanding moments. The Chicago United Center on that Sunday afternoon, that was a wonderful moment. The one when we won the Big Ten tournament championship, in addition to the season championship. First time this century any Big Ten university got both. So very proud. Now, of course, there's also moments of heartbreak, such as 5 days later in Ohio. I've had the chance to go through all 5 cultural centers on campus. I think all the Greek life organizations and all the dining courts, all the URs, and have had the conversation with students, faculty, staff, alumni, neighbors, a lot of great conversations with student athletes and the coaches. So it's just a deep sense of appreciation of what Purdue is unique and why it's unique, and the Boilermaker spirit that is quite special. Now, I'm obviously biased. Maybe every other university presidents, they all think their university is the unique one. But I think I'm reflecting a fact that there's something special about this place, this university, and something special about Boilermakers.
Gotcha. We always see you wearing a suit. How many suits do you have?
Actually, I used to only have 3. Now I have a few more.
How many's a few more?
I'll say 6, 5, 6. First of all, I don't always do it, but today, because we have an Air Force Research Lab unveiling or ribbon cutting, and we're very proud of having this AFRL Midwest Research Hub network led by Purdue for the whole region of the country. That's one particular reason that I'm dressed up like this. But now I see that since you are, I'm matching you. I'm glad I did that. So on many days, actually, I don't do that per se. I don't do that going into Mackey, for example. Now, sometimes you have to go meet state legislature. They show up here. Sometimes you shake hands and thank the donors and alumni. Sometimes you meet with the foundation leadership from, say, Lilly Endowment and others. And so I figure that if I overdress a little bit, people at most will say, well, this guy's weird. It's pretty hot today. What are you doing? But if I underdress, sometimes people get offended and they think that I'm not respecting them. Well, I'm respecting you clearly, as you are to me as well. So I guess that's why. I don't particularly enjoy wearing a tie, by the way.
I don't either.
It doesn't help with breathing, so.
You mentioned meeting with state legislature. Could you tell us about, you went to the State of the Union with Senator Todd Young.
Yes. So these are, first of all, two different things. Both are important. One is at the national level. We do have the United States Congress, and they have the joint session once a year with the President of the United States. I'm glad that Senator Todd Young asked me to be his guest this year because we worked together on CHIPS Plus Science Act. One could say that's a once-in-a-generation transformational opportunity to update our country's scientific foundation. In particular, in semiconductors, where Purdue, I'm proud to say, is the #1 university leading in research, education, and partnership for the United States semiconductor revival. So we worked together on that, and I'm proud to be there and to have the chance in the chamber to listen to President Biden's speech. Now, the state legislature I was referring to is our own state of Indiana General Assembly, and we're still in session right now. They would approve a biennium budget, including for higher education, including every public university such as ours. So I went there for the House and then Senate hearing sessions, one in January, one in early March, to present our budget and our request. We won't know until it's all done in a couple of weeks' time, but so far it's looking good in terms of our general operating fund as well as specific requests ranging from agriculture and extension to the nursing and pharmacy building. So far, it's, knock on the wood, both House and Senate have demonstrated their support. We'll see what the final budget might look like.
Well, what type of opportunities will this CHIPS Act bring to students?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities. So first of all, you can be a business student, a engineering student, a technology student, science students. You could be also a undergrad or grad students and take our SDP, Semiconductor Degrees Program. This is the first at scale and truly interdisciplinary degree program that Purdue is leading the country in offering. And if you look at the news of chip shortage and why semiconductor is the foundation of the entire digital economy for the country, and you will realize that, well, with all these tens of billions of tax dollars and hundreds of billions of private sector investment throughout the whole country, right, including Skywater Technologies' $2 billion investment announced last summer right here on our campus. Not the largest one, but I think a unique one because it's on a university campus. Who's going to be in these facilities making the chips? The workforce, the talent pipeline is the most important supply chain at the end of the day. So we are proud to be able to offer a broad range of opportunities. So students, whatever your major might be, can minor in that. If you want to major in it in a master's degree, that's available too. And you can do hands-on learning. You can perhaps wake up in the morning and walk to the right to do the SDP clean room lab in Burke Nanotechnology Center, or you could turn left and perhaps walk down the street one day soon, I hope, to the Skywater fab, which is industrial grade, and you can do hands-on internship over there. So I think opens up a lot of job opportunities and learning opportunities for many students.
Got a very complicated question for you.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, that is the most complicated question because the answer is depends. And I don't mean to dodge the question. As you can see, I take whatever question. I don't even know what the questions are. You ask me, I give you my honest answer right on the spot. But this one I have to answer depends because that is the honest answer. Depends on the establishment, the brand. I generally like, now this is only for those above drinking age, alcohol mixed with ice cream. And if you're not allergic to tree nuts, some kind of a nuts mixed in there as well. So for example, milk chocolate brandy hazelnut. That is a real flavor in some ice cream parlors. It's a wonderful combination. Again, for those who are not allergic and are legally allowed to drink. I also just like the old style, just chocolate, vanilla, and in a float or in an affogato. Affogato, I don't know if a lot of people know what that is. So I learned it as an Italian term referring to drowning, usually kind of a gelato with espresso. So it's like float, except it's not Coke, it is espresso. Because you think about it, all right, I need some caffeine, but espresso by itself is not easy to drink for some people. So I need milk, I need cold, I need sugar. I say, hey, that is ice cream. Those three things combined. So you put those together, you get all the caffeine you need in a one nice package. So I visit a lot of the local establishments here. Depending on which one I'm in, I usually order my different usuals.
What is your usual at the Silver Dipper?
Well, I like their float, so just plain simple vanilla flavor in a regular Coke.
Gotcha. How has your first semester gone?
Well, first semester in the new job, you mean?
Yes, in the new job.
Well, it's been fantastic. We've got a great team at the university, and we've got great staff and colleagues and faculty. The students are amazing. I'll tell you that we are excited about some initiatives. I mentioned Purdue Innovates. I mentioned the semiconductor, but semiconductor is part of Purdue Computes, which consists of three pillars. There is the Institute for Physical AI, IPI, which cuts across the entire campus, asking not just what AI can do for you in writing essays, but what AI might change the way we grow things, make things, and move things, as our state of Indiana has always been very good at. What is the implication when the atoms and the bytes meet, the virtual and the physical get together? So IPI, cutting across campus, will be a major research institute, again, Purdue leading the nation. And then we have the expansion of computing departments, including computer science and computer engineering in the Elmore School of ECE. If you look at the number of applicants, again, they apply. We didn't ask them to apply, but they chose to apply to these majors. 10 years ago, it's about 800 applied to CS. And this year, it's about 10,000. Imagine the number of rejection letters we have to send out to the vast majority of the 10,000s, resulting in some of those angry emails I got. So we would like to say, while we cannot accommodate like that 12 times in 10 years, we're not going to match that rate. We do want to be able to offer, whether it's CS, computer engineering, data science, AI degrees to some of these students. And then third element is chips. All computing, all AI computing happens in some kind of a semiconductor chips. So you put IPI and computing departments and chips at Purdue together, that is Purdue Computes. Now, if you zoom out a little bit further, you see Purdue Computes as a major initiative. You see the new Daniel School of Business as a major initiative. And then you see Purdue's first urban campus in our long history, Purdue in Indianapolis as another initiative. And the three, by the way, they do intersect. Will bring a whole lot of degrees to Indianapolis, not just the ones currently sitting there at the PU part of IUPUI, but a much broader range from HTM to business analytics, you name it. But the three circles, if you will, they have some intersections. As a nerd, I like to draw charts and draw pictures and write equations. So these three intersecting circles, Purdue University, Indianapolis, Daniels School of Business, Purdue Compute's three pillars, they form a very strong momentum of Purdue University, our university, moving forward, moving upward.
I've got one final question for you. On a This is Purdue podcast, you said that being president of the university was one of academia's highest honors. What do you want to be remembered for as a president of Purdue University? What is the one thing that you want people to look back and say, that was President Chiang?
Well, you mean in addition to encouraging proliferation of ice cream shops? Well, in addition to that, I would say that first of all, there are all kinds of outstanding opportunities in academia. Being on the administrative side, by the way, to many professors at least, like I once would be one of those looking at administration and say, I don't want to do that. I want to do my own research, my teaching, maybe a startup, maybe work with my doctoral students. And why would I want to do administration, whatever that is? So I think the highest honor reflects to just me personally and reflects Purdue University's presidency. It's not just any presidency of any university, but of a public land grant where we have excellence at scale, where we have higher learning at the highest proven value, where we transform and uplift people's lives, and so many people's lives. That is some special privilege and honor for me to be able to serve such an institution as Purdue. Now, as to your question about legacy, right? It's interesting. First question I get is, how was your first day? The second question is, how's your legacy going to be? I say, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. I just started, So I'm not even done with my month number 4. But if I have to look back one day in the future, as we all eventually will have to, say, what might be your legacy, right? Actually, the first and foremost is not about what we did, but who we were as a team. And the members of the team will be updated every now and then. It's not the same team for many years throughout, but any given point in time, there was a team. And the team is big. And I would hope to look back and say that it's the who before the what. Right? Say, just this Tuesday, speaking of traveling, I was in Washington, D.C., and we convened a Chips for America Execute for Success Summit. 175 companies, universities, and government agencies represented. Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, she was there at the keynote. Senator Todd Young was there at the keynote. And the execution was perfect for this event in the Senate building. Everybody's talking about Purdue. We try to downplay and say this is about our country, is not just about one university, but everybody could see it. They couldn't help but to see it. And I thought about it, say, why it went without a glitch? Because we got great team executing. And that's just one example, one tip of a ginormous and growing iceberg of excellence at scale. So I hope first and foremost is the legacy that those colleagues worked on this team. They felt that they grew professionally, that it was a good time for them. When we take care of the who will take care of the what. Now, if I could be greedy, that's already 2 wishes. Ice cream industry will continue to blossom, the who before the what. I want to say the Purdue's heritage as a public land grant institution, the momentum through the Daniels decade in particular, where we have excellence at scale, we demonstrated that it is possible to be getting bigger and better at the same time. However you measure enrollment or faculty size or research productivity, number of patents, however you want to quantify getting bigger, and however you want to quantify getting better, which is harder to quantify with everybody agreeing on the same page. But more or less we have a sense of the impact, the difference. Are we consequential? I'm not talking about a particular ranking, but I'm talking about if this institution, Purdue, were to disappear suddenly out of nowhere tomorrow morning, would those people who are not even affiliated notice and care, right? That is consequentiality, if that's a word. So are we the most consequential public institution of this country or not, right? How can we sustain excellence at scale? We're not going to be getting better by excluding and getting smaller so that we are elite and tiny and therefore we are really good. Nothing wrong with that model. It's just not us. It's a big country with many different kinds of institutions. Anybody can choose whatever their institution's DNA might be. But for us, for Purdue, for Boilermakers, we want to be growing bigger and better at the same time. And that's tough. If you draw just one more nerdy curve, and I'll be done, is x-axis is some kind of a scale. Pick your favorite way to measure it. Y is some axis of excellence, impact, difference we make, consequentiality. And then you plot the two. Usually there's some kind of trade-off. And you say you can't be doing well on both x and y axis. You have to give up excellence to be at scale, or you have to let go scale in order to sustain excellence. And we refuse, as Boilermakers, to say that is the character of Purdue as a higher education institution in America. Because we believe that if we do it right, and if we work hard with the right who, we'll be able to attain, sustain, and advance excellence at scale.